Welcome to the Red Pill Podcast, powered by AgencyX.net. Explore AI-driven creativity, groundbreaking innovations, and industry insights, all in one game-changing podcast. Enjoy.
Hey there. So thanks for sending over that piece, The Red or the Blue Pill, by Webstrix. We read it, and it really got us thinking about something interesting.
Yeah, it poses that question, doesn't it? Why is it that something super obviously artificial, like, say, a puppet, can feel more engaging, more real almost, than some AI voices or characters, which are also clearly artificial?
Exactly. It feels a bit backwards sometimes. You interact with an AI, maybe a chatbot voice, and it can feel, well, flat or a bit off.
But then you watch something like The Muppets and you're totally bought in, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's felt in googly eyes.
Totally. So the mission for this deep dive, using the piece you sent, is to kind of unpack why that happens. What are the psychological reasons, the cultural stuff the piece talks about?
Okay, let's dive in. The piece kicks off with this idea about the type of artificiality. Puppets like the Muppets or Sesame Street characters you mentioned, they really lean into it.
How so?
Well, they exaggerate everything, right? Their voices are often cartoony, their movements are big and theatrical. It's performance.
Ah, okay, so it's not trying to fool you into thinking it's real.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, I'm a puppet, right from the start.
Precisely. It's obvious artifice. And because it's so upfront about being fake, the piece argues, we willingly suspend our disbelief. We accept Kermit as Kermit, hand inside and all.
Right, you're in on the act. It's part of the fun.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with AI tonality, AI voices. The piece suggests these often fall into what we call the uncanny valley.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. That weird kind of creepy sensation when something is almost human, but not quite.
That's the one. It's close enough to sound human-like, but the little things are off. Maybe the intonation is flat or the rhythm is slightly robotic. And that subtle wrongness makes it feel, well, uncanny. Hollow, maybe.
Or just unsettling. Yeah, the article had an example, didn't it?
It did. Like, a puppet's silly, over-the-top voice feels charming because you expect it to be fake. But an AI voice that's trying to sound human but fails slightly, that feels disturbing, not charming.
So one embraces the fakeness, the other gets tripped up by trying to hide it almost. Okay, that makes sense. What's the next layer the piece explores?
It ties into that human presence. Or maybe the feeling of human presence and intention.
Okay.
With a puppet, even if the puppeteer is hidden, you have this underlying awareness that there's a person back there, someone pulling the strings, doing the voice, making choices.
Right, you sense the effort, the live human energy going into it. It feels like a connection, even through the puppet.
Yeah, a shared experience. The piece argues that AI often lacks that feeling of a soul behind the curtain, you could say.
Yeah.
Even if an AI is saying clever things, you know it's an algorithm.
It feels generated, not chosen by a person in that moment. Less personal.
Exactly. The article uses Kermit again. He feels alive in part because we associate him with the artistry and presence of someone like Jim Henson. There's a known human source of that character's life.
Whereas a chatbot,
Yeah.
well, it's code. Sophisticated code maybe, but still code. It doesn't have that hidden human performer we connect with.
Right. That perceived human element is huge. And that connects to another point. Tradition and just cultural habit.
Ah, okay. How does that play in?
Well, puppetry is ancient, like thousands of years old, found in cultures all over the world. It's a deeply ingrained form of storytelling and performance.
So we're basically culturally preconditioned to accept it. We've seen it forever. We get the convention.
Pretty much. We have this long history, this cultural familiarity. We know how to read a puppet show. AI voices, AI characters, they're brand new in the grand scheme of things.
No history, no nostalgia baked in.
Exactly. There isn't that established trust or understanding. The piece makes a great comparison. A ventriloquist's dummy doing comedy. Totally normal, it's a known trope.
Yeah, you accept the premise.
But an AI doing stand-up, that still feels like a tech demo, maybe? A gimmick? It hasn't earned that same cultural acceptance as a performance form yet.
It hasn't become part of the furniture of storytelling.
Okay.
That's a strong point. What else?
Something a bit counterintuitive. Imperfection.
Yeah.
The piece suggests human imperfection actually adds charm.
Really? How so?
Think about it. A human puppeteer might occasionally flub a line, or you might see their hand adjust something, or they react spontaneously to the audience. These little mistakes are real-time adjustments.
They remind you there's a person there. It makes it feel more alive, more human.
Exactly. It adds warmth, relatability. AI, on the other hand, is often designed for perfect, flawless execution. Which sounds good, but the article argues it can make the performance feel sterile, cold.
Even if you program an AI to hesitate or make a mistake, it doesn't feel the same, does it? It's planned imperfection, not spontaneous.
Right, so the piece says, a puppet messing up can be endearing. An AI messing up feels like a bug, a technical failure. It breaks the spell in a different way.
One feels human, the other feels like broken tech. Okay, interesting.
And that leads to another point the piece brings up, this idea of agency, or the illusion of it.
Agency, like who's in control?
Yeah, with puppets, it's crystal clear. Nobody actually thinks the puppet is making its own decisions independent of the puppeteer. It's understood as a tool. It's an extension of the performer.
Right. But AI, as the article notes, is often designed to sound more autonomous. You know, chatbots saying, I think, or I feel, or I can help you with.
Ah, right. It uses first-person language, presenting itself as an independent agent.
And this mismatch, presenting as independent but being ultimately algorithmic and limited, can create distrust or skepticism when the limitations show.
So if a puppet says, I'm alive, it's part of the act, it's a joke.
Yeah, you're in on it.
Yeah.
But if an AI implies sentience or independent thought, and then clearly hits a wall or gives a nonsensical answer, it can feel creepy, maybe, or even deceptive.
Like it's pretending to be more than it is.
No.
Okay. And there was one more major point about physicality.
Yes, huge one. Emotional resonance and physicality. Puppets are physical. They exist in three-dimensional space. They have texture, weight, they move, they can gesture, make eye contact.
They interact with the physical world. You can see them do things. Exactly. And the article argues that this physical presence is really important for emotional connection. A lot of our communication relies on non-verbal physical cues.
Which an AI voice or a chatbot completely lacks. It's disembodied information.
Right. No body language, no physical interaction. The piece uses the example of a puppet hugging someone. That physical act carries emotional weight.
Whereas an AI saying, I offer you my support, or I care. It's just words floating in the digital ether. It can feel hollow without that physical grounding.
Precisely. It lacks that tangible reality that helps us connect emotionally.
Okay, so we've got the uncanny valley issue, the lack of perceived human presence, the newness compared to ancient traditions, the missing charm of imperfection, the confusing signals about agency, and the lack of physicality. That's quite a list explaining the difference.
It really covers a lot of ground.
So, given all that, does the piece offer any hope? Like, will we ever get used to AI voices or characters in the same way we accept puppets?
It suggests it's possible, but it would likely require a shift in how AI is presented and maybe how it's made.
Like what?
Well, maybe AI needs to stop trying so hard to mimic humans perfectly and instead lean into its own kind of stylized artificiality. Think R2-D2, the piece mentions. Clearly not human, makes beeps and boops, but people love him.
So embrace the machineness. Make it an aesthetic choice, not try to hide it. Like puppets embrace their puppetness.
Kind of, yeah. Find its own form of expression. And also, maybe we need to see AI less as a replacement for human performers and more as a new type of art form or a new tool for artists.
Okay, a new medium.
And critically, the piece suggests maybe incorporating more visible human collaboration. So AI isn't just operating alone, but it's clearly working with a human artist or performer, bringing that human element back into the loop more overtly.
Right, so you get the sense of human intention guiding the AI tool.
Exactly. So the article kind of concludes that AI's current struggle is being caught in this awkward middle space.
Too human, so it hits the uncanny valley.
But not human enough, so it feels impersonal and lacks those connection points we talked about.
Whereas puppets work because they are so obviously fake. That's the whole point, the accepted convention.
Yeah, the upfront artifice is their strength. AI is still figuring out its identity, you could say. Is it trying to be a perfect mimic, or is it something else?
The piece finishes with a broader thought, right, about art and tools.
It does. It frames it like this. Art has always involved creators using tools, paintbrushes, clay, puppet strings. AI, in this view, is just the latest tool, the newest instrument.
So the focus shouldn't be just on the tool itself, the AI.
But on how we, the humans, use that tool. The magic comes from the artist wielding the instrument, whatever it is, to express something meaningful, something human. It's about the creativity applied through the tool.
Not the tool itself having inherent magic. Okay, so let's recap the big takeaways from this dive into the red or the blue pill. Our very different gut feelings about AI versus puppets seem to come down to this cluster of things. That uncanny valley creepiness versus the charm of obvious fakeness.
The feeling of human presence and intention, or the lack of it.
The weight of cultural history and tradition, making puppets familiar.
The unexpected warmth that comes from human imperfection.
The confusion about whether AI is a tool or pretending to be an agent.
And the fundamental role of physical presence in how we connect emotionally.
And the piece really drives home that AI often feels awkward right now because it's trying too hard to be like us, unlike puppets, which are comfortable just being puppets.
They lean into what they are.
Right. And the piece leaves us with this really provocative final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah, it's this idea that maybe AI's glitches, the things that feel wrong or uncanny, maybe they aren't just bugs to be fixed.
What if the article suggests they're actually clues, little windows into something else?
Yeah, like the real challenge isn't just building better AI, but understanding why its failures, its weirdnesses make us feel the way we do. Why do they unsettle us?
Because maybe, just maybe, those cracks in the AI's performance, where the imitation breaks down, that's where our own assumptions, our own deep-seated ideas about what makes something real or alive or human actually become visible.
The AI stumbles reflect something back about ourselves.
Exactly. Something to definitely think about next time you encounter an AI voice or character, or maybe even when you watch an old favorite puppet show.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for exploring that with us today.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Red Pill Podcast. If you enjoyed diving deep into the future of AI and media, make sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned. Bigger insights, bolder ideas, and game-changing discussions are coming your way. Sponsored by agencyx.net.